The sky may not be the limit when your kids leave home, but as empty nesters, you do have many more choices that you can make. We're going to talk about some of the choices and how to prioritize them on Consider This Program today. Well, good morning and welcome back to Consider This Program. I'm your host, Joe Clark.
And I'm Jamie Burton.
We are happy to have you all along. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Hopefully, we are providing you some valuable insight into things that you may want to consider as you work and think about midlife planning. That's the theme for the entire show. Remember, if you're a radio show listener, you probably have missed at least one segment of this show today. You can go to our podcast, considerthisprogram.com, or yourlifeafterwork.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just put in Consider This Program. Go ahead and subscribe. Tell us you like the show. If you do, I appreciate that and all of the comments. You can always find us at 800-928-4001 or yourlifeafterwork.com. Jamie?
Yes.
Let's talk about the sky may not be the limit for empty nesters. Where do we go with that?
Yeah. So, you spend at least 18 years of your life, if you only have one kid, more than that, raising ththese kids, and you've got them to the age where they're now going off to college or they have decided to enter the workforce and they've moved out of the house, and here you are, just you and your spouse now, and you have all these decisions that are in front of you that you get to make, and you just don't really know where to start. There's so many options.
It's the Cheesecake Factory menu.
Yeah, right.
If you haven't been here, I mean, you because I want you to be aware of this. I mean, it is a Cheesecake Factory menu for many of you that are listening to the show. What do I mean by that? If you've not been to the Cheesecake Factory, I think the menu is 100 pages long. I have no idea how they do it, right? And everybody loves all of those options, right? All of those things you could do, all the things you could eat. There's never enough room to be able to get it all in. But then the waitress shows up, and now you have to make a decision, right? And see, we all like options. We just hate decisions. And that's really where you are in this empty nest world, is how do you prioritize? So I'm looking at your list that you put together here, Jamie. So go ahead and walk me down it.
Yeah. So the first thing that seems to be brought up is vehicles. Does it make sense to keep two vehicles for each spouse to have one vehicle, or does it make sense to downsize and just have one? Because maybe you're not doing as much running as you used to be doing. You might not be taking the kids to sports or their extracurricular activities. Does it make sense to just cut back to that one?
Jamie's more frugal than the majority of people. I used to tell them at Purdue when I was teaching them, you guys have to understand as students, you're going to be more frugal than your friends that are running around with credit cards at Harry's, right? I mean, because your focus is here. You understand debt. You understand interest and paying, that kind of stuff. Many times the question is, what is the third vehicle going to be, not the downsize?
Yeah.
Right? So are we going to get an older car? Are we going to get the vet we always wanted?
Right.
We're going to get a Jeep?
Yeah. I'd say the majority of the time is not to cut back on one vehicle.
Yeah. But you can get, that's one of the things when the kids leave the home, your insurance rates many times do fall, and you can get cars that maybe didn't make sense before.
Yeah. Now you can get more of the fun vehicles. The next thing, and this seems to be a really big topic that we talk about a lot, is where are we going to live? So a lot of conversations go around, does it still make sense to have this big house? Do we still need 4 bedrooms now that it's just the two of us? And that really starts wrapping around really where your heart lies on what you want the future to look like. Do you want the kids to be able to come back and come and stay? When they start having kids, do you want to be able to host these big holiday gatherings and big events where you do still need the space? Or does it really make sense for you to cut back, to sell that house and move to a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom somewhere and just rely on your kids to have those different holidays and that sort of thing?
And many times they do want those holidays. So you have to be willing to share.
Yeah.
What I will tell you in all of the years that I've done this, when you say cut back, in your mind, you think people are going to spend less money. And what happens is I watch people downsize. They went from the 4-bedroom to the 2 perhaps, but it didn't cost less.
Right.
Just keep that in mind, right? So don't kid yourself on the downsizing about it being financial. Many times it's just upkeep and carry cost and those kind of things.
Right. And, a lot of time people, when they think, well, we don't need this 4-bedroom regularly anymore, maybe we'll cut back. But really, if you think about it, if you're worried about, say, mowing your lawn or upkeeping the outside, you can hire somebody to do that for you at a pretty low cost without really taking on the extra costs of selling your house and moving somewhere else, and most likely still having all of those same issues.
Let's say low relatively.
Okay.
Right? Because my guess is either you or Chad still mow your yard.
Oh, yeah.
It's not cheap. I mean, it's when Bobby and his crew show up, that is not a cheap endeavor. However, I will give you that it is cheaper than Barb and I moving to a new house, selling the house, paying for all the relocation, and so you can keep that in mind. But it's take care of your service people, folks, because you will need them at some point in time in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another topic is, are we going to keep our home where we live now, or do we think we want to relocate to somewhere warmer, somewhere like Florida or Arizona? And is that where we're going to move permanently, or is that something that we're going to have to just be there a couple months out of the year? So it's really pinpointing where we want to live all year round, or splitting time between different places, and how that is going to financially make sense for you.
I would think, go back to my cheesecake analogy, right? The Cheesecake Factory menu. List all of to the best of your ability. And I don't think we have a checklist for this, but we could probably come up with one. List to the best of your ability all of the things that you could change. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, interestingly enough, there's some things that you're already doing that you may want to continue to do or do more of. One of my good friends that I golf with, I had, he retired as a doc, and I had no idea that he would golf 4 or 5 days a week. And he said, I love my wife. We've been together for almost 40 years. She's a wonderful woman, but not 24/7. Right? So she needs him gone. He needs to be gone. And they just choose that's the golf course. But, you can list out your hobbies and your routines and your habits and go, okay, which ones do we want to keep? Then when you come to see us at the Financial Enhancement Group, Jamie or the team will walk you through the tax benefits. So you've narrowed it down to Florida and Kentucky and Tennessee, right? And so which one wins? And, so you may have given weather a higher rating and think that Florida's better. I'll take Tennessee any day of the week. But you just you've got to go through that process to try to figure out, what is really right for you and the priority you put. For some people, it is the Harley, or it is a Jeep, or it is a boat, or it is a lake house, or it is it is going on those big vacations that you hear people talk about. Mm-hmm. But you and your spouse, or if you by yourself, you've got to prioritize that. You're not going to be able to do them all at once. Even if you had the money, you don't have the time or the energy, likely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and talking about priorities, quite a few of the families that we take care of, taking those vacations is top priority for them. So one of the decisions around taking the vacations is, are you going to vacation to the same place regularly, or would you rather have more flexibility to be taking vacations to different places? So that really revolves around, does it make sense to buy a vacation home, or does it make sense to not buy that home and just be able to have that flexibility to rent somewhere and be able to travel to different places all the time?
I've chose to invest in friends.
Friends?
Yeah. There's nothing better than a friend with a boat.
Yeah.
Right? And nothing better with a friend than a vacation house. Right? And, you contribute when you go, but you have no carry cost when you leave.
Yeah.
It's a nicer Airbnb relationship.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. You really do have to look at your options and your choices and figure out what is right for you, but have those conversations. We got a guy in Lafayette that we take care of that, I think he worked 6 days a week at Caterpillar, and he took off only when they made him take off, right? And I'm not even talking about vacation. I mean, plant closings, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And he and his wife never went anywhere. She got sick, passed away 6 months later. He had 6 trips booked, right, within the first 6 months of her passing. And it's kind of like, well, why didn't you do this with her? Well, she didn't want to go anywhere. It's kind of like, I ain't buying it. Yeah. I'm not buying that she wanted you working 6.5 days a week. Mm-hmm. Right. So I don't know where the freedom came from for you to do this now, but I don't want that. I don't want that harming you. I mean, these are conversations you don't wait to have until the kids are necessarily gone. They're conversations you can have now. They will change. Life moves, right? And you can adjust, but work on that priority system. Maybe you go to one side of the house, your wife goes to the other, and you come up with the 10 best ideas and score them, which is an order, right? And kind of like we would teach you to do in debt reduction. Figure out the one that is the least cost, that has the highest return. In this case, the highest, opportunity as opposed to cost. But go there.
Yeah. So the next thing, it kind of makes me giggle, is when you go to bed and when you wake up. And it makes me laugh because I think of my parents who are in retirement, and they have really started staying up till like past midnight. And sleeping till 9 or 10 in the morning, which was so different from when they were working, and it's so different from us kids who are all in the workforce now. We know that we're going to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and they still have a couple hours left where they're sitting up, reading the book, listening to a podcast, watching TV, that sort of thing, and we could really get a hold of them. But I have to be more conscious of when we're reaching out to them in the morning because they're don't have a reason to wake up early. So.
It is very true. We had a friend of mine that was a school teacher, and he was like 2 or 3 years older, and he was able to retire earlier. And the only deal was he had to be up and dressed before she left. Then he could go back to bed, right? Life is a series of negotiations, so do it well. Keep resources in mind, time, energy, and money, not just the other. Prioritize your list. There's a thing I use called the opportunity filter, where I help people try to prioritize things that go on in their life. Happy to help you with that. Go to yourlifeafterwork.com or call us at 800-928-4001. Get signed up for your Next Steps meeting. These are things that Jamie and the team can help you with. They're important. They matter. They're fun. They're fun. There's a lot of worse things that we could be talking about. Again, it's 800-928-4001. Hope you're having an outstanding week. yourlifeafterwork.com.